Okay, I'm back again. Now last night I did the injectors and I'm very pleased with the job. Car runs like new. Now if you look at my other videos, you will see it how to remove the injectors. Putting back on is just pretty much a reverse order. Now I'll go through with you quickly how I did it. Now before you place your injectors, you have two washers. They're copper color, one small and one bigger one. Use a bit of grease, just tiny bit of grease, and place them in place. And then take the injectors out, placing one by one. So you've got two washers and injector, two washers and injector. Goes in. In this stage, be careful not to touch the injector nozzle with any parts, like don't touch that with the engine bay or anything like that. So place it back in and hand tight. Go to the next one, do the same. So once you have all 6 injectors in, hand tight, you get a torque wrench. Now the book say you have to torque it to 54 to 64 Newton meters. I did 060, that just being a square number. So torque the injectors in the block to 60 Newton meters. Once you do that, you have a return fuel line to go on top. In between the return fuel line, there's a silver color washer. It's just right there. So just make sure all the washers are back in each injector before you put the return fuel line. Now before you put the return fuel line on, there is a little hose, that L-shape that one of me took off when we taking them out. Take that out from the injector pump side. Right, so injector pump side, little hose, L-shape, about 6 inches. It goes just right next to the second injector, and place them back onto the return fuel line before you put that in. So you have that one hanging from here. Place it back on, and it's a fiddly job. It take your time. I mean, don't rush through. You don't want to break things at this stage. If you break things, it take more time and money. So place a return fuel line back on. Once it's on, hand tie this nut, 19mm nut, back on. Just a hand tie them first, and then go back to the that little hose, rubber hose that you took it out, and place it back in the injector pump. That's where the return fuel go back in. And then now torque this nut to about 30 Newton meters. Once you torque that, you only got fuel line, the top fuel line to go back in. Now when you put in the top fuel line, it's a bit of a fiddly job. Again, take your time, moving around gently, and place them back on. Hand tie them all. After you hand tie them all, these brackets go on thereafter. Place the brackets on. It's very important because that stops the cracking when it's vibrate. Diesel engine vibrate fair bit. If you don't have them, it's very easy to crack. Therefore, so you tie them up, hand tie them, and then torque them to about 27 Newton meters, right? So it's all hand tied and torqued to 27 Newton meters. Top one's in. Now job is almost done. At this stage, no air filter, no air intake, right? So you have that something covering a rag. I usually put a rag in there to cover the whole of intake to the engine. Now take everything out, clean the area, make sure you don't have any wrenches or screwdrivers, spanners anywhere in the engine bay. It's almost time to start. Before you start, you're going to prime the pump. You're going to prime the fuel pump until you feel resistant. Just prime about 10 times. You feel you can't prime anymore, and then you actually go back to your injector pump. On top of the injector pump, there is a small bolt holding the bleeding nipple. Now it's a 10mm socket. Put a 10mm socket in there, open up for about 2 turns, 3 turns, and then tell someone to prime the pump while you're watching. There's a fuel coming through. You will see fuel coming through, a few bubbles coming through, and then it starts going solid layer of fuel coming through. So I think the best way to bleed the fuel pump and the injector pump is when someone's actually compressing this. After you see the fuel coming up solid, let someone to hold this down, so which is when you prime it, so pushing it, hold it down. While it's holding it down, tight that bolt. In that way you're not going to get any air back in the system. So you tie the bolt when it's priming all the way down, turn it and tie the nut. So once you tie the nut, everything is almost ready to go, everything back in order. Just make sure everything you've done, double check, go back to the car, start the car. Now when I start the car, I was so lucky it started the first time. It was just amazing feeling when that happens. Now let it idle for about 2 to 3 minutes. Once that idle for 2 to 3 minutes, you're almost ready to finish the job off, right? So come back, have a look through, everything seems all right. Stop the car for a second. So it's about 2 minutes idle, you stop the car, come back up on this stage. You want to make sure next time when you work on this car, you will have the engine running. So there's a fan here, there is the belts going through. Just make sure you are very careful, you have something solid to stand on. These cars are best when you're four-wheel driving. It's got the height, but when you're working on it, it's just pretty tough. So start the car again, come back up here, 17mm spanner, open. What we're going to do is now bleed in the injectors. That's the last thing to do. At this stage again, guys, there's no intake, right? Everything is out. You open this injector 2 turns and you will see little foams coming out here. At this stage, you must make sure you wear your safety glasses and a safety gloves. You don't want your eyes to get full of fuel, right? It's pretty dangerous, so you should make sure you have your safety glasses and the gloves. Open this up about 2 turns, you will see foams coming out. When you see the foams coming out, about 5 seconds after, you will see this fuel started to spit like this. It goes all over the place a little bit, but don't worry, we can clean it up. So once you see this fuel start to come out, you're going to close that, right? Tie it up to about 30 Newton meters, sorry, 27 Newton meters. Go to the next one, open it up, you will see little foams coming out, and then fuel started to spit. When you see that solid fuels coming through, close it. Do that for all 6. You're almost done. Go back into the car, stop the car, get all the intakes pipe, put it back in place. Everything is back in place, and degrees all over the place here, so you will see any fuel leaks. At this stage you will have a fuel all over the place anyway. So just do the degreaser. I just use a spray bottle of hot water and a spray, and put some water after degreasing and clean it up. Next day in the morning, I came out, start the car, start on the first go, happy, went for a drive, mate. It's smooth, there's no smoke at all, so I was pretty happy with it. And then I came in, while it started, had a look through, open up, everything was dry, had a look through, there's no leak whatsoever. Obviously if you guys see any leak, just make sure you probably haven't tightened the nuts. So job is done, intakes in, engine base all tidy up, and yeah, it's a pretty pleased when you do a job like that. And I guess anyone can do it if you try, just with a bit of a mechanical knowledge, but just make sure your safety. It's no point of trying to do things and you hurt yourself. Now guys, I hope someone get use out of this and help someone out. And if you have any questions, you feel free to ask anytime. I try to reply ASAP. And yeah, again, this is the TD42 automatic Australian delivered 12-watt system, not the Safari version. Lucky to have that one, and I'm just gonna keep looking after it to see how long it lasts. I hope you guys enjoy it, and have a nice day.